just a long lost look in your eyes. Brings out a love that I can't disguise. So take me down to the places I've never seen. Oh, don't you try to kill me with kind. It's just your love that's driving me wild. Oh, from the dawn we rise, with the heart we cry, to the light we go, into the light we go. From the darkest night, from the fire inside, into the light we go, into the light we go, to the light we go.
Welcome back, guys. We had a debut of our favorite kind boy, and off the back of that, KT, even though the first blood did go over to the side of Afreeca, KT were able to win the game in the end. Smeb played fantastically on his Camille, as always, and it was a lot of fun overall. Very careful, meticulous play out of KT this time around.
Clean Camille and the clean Braum were where my eyes were trained upon, but of course the legions of Rush fans were happy to see him finally make his long-awaited debut. Of course, he put a lot into and sacrificed a lot to come back to Korea, gave up streaming to get an opportunity like this and was able to pick up the Game 1 victory. Still unsure if he's keeping his spot for Game number 2. We haven't been able to see any information about lineups, but this game was largely stalled out in the mid-game after KT made some good decisions. A Baron call kind of ended the game in one fell swoop, and from there, KT Rolster picked up the Game 1 victory.
Those Fates calls, man, he got Mata to safety and then he threw him right back in to get multiple 4- and 5-man knockups. It was pretty insane play overall. And Mowgli doing his best, but overall I would say Rush had a slightly better game. It was pretty even overall. I would say that the junglers weren't really the highlight players of this matchup, even though it was Rush. Certainly Smeb's Camille is quite fantastic.
How do you feel about damage? Boom.
Hello.
Just Camille things as the game goes on. He was building full damage. Camille was building full tank. True damage is pretty good, Valdez.
Yeah. Rush getting himself kidnapped there, but eventually just the right thing and throws an ultimate into the back line. As you do when you get kidnapped as a tanky Sejuani. Take a look at the damage here. It was pretty one-sided. The Kalista really popping off, and the super fed Rise doing a whole lot more than the Scion in that Scion comp. And
if you have double Death Ball comps, which if you ignore the Camille and Fiora, they were, you gotta say, Kalista with Hurricane is set up to do more damage than the Ezreal. It's only about threat. It's only about if you can actually kidnap the Kalista into the front line. They weren't able to do that, so Def did Def things, and despite the fact that I don't expect to see these sort of picks in the bot lane, especially from KT, when we roll around to the playoffs, now with the victory, you never know.
Yeah. Wonder what the fans are saying about Rush's damage. Less than the Braum this time around. Certainly the Braum was thrown into these fights and did a lot, but Yukao,
whoa!
What the hell?
What an awesome pose. We didn't even know. I love it.
He ended Rise's losing streak of 16 games. I wonder if that's actually true, but that's what it says up at the top side.
I would think that would be mid lane Rise. I don't know if that's top lane Rise as well. Could be, but well, Rise is back, baby, and Yukao picks up his MVP.
I love this pose. What is that supposed to be?
I don't know. Is he a shark eating someone?
It's the Azir bird pose. He's the Azir player. His wings are not really, you know, fanned out in the right direction, though.
We have interviewed him at SpoTV before, but that wasn't his own MVP. So congratulations on your first career MVP. Going over to Yukao, very young player, only 17 and 2 months. He will be keeping his starting spot for game number 2. Unless we hear anything, we might get another game of Rush as well.
Trying to zoom out that camera.
Where's Rush?
Can you go a little bit faster, please?
It could still be score. I think it's.
Please
I think
zoom
it's
out.
Oh!
Did you recognize the ear?
No. I haven't looked at Rush's ear closely.
Their haircuts are exactly the same. What do you do?
I look at their solo cues, not their profile photos. There he is.
Okay.
All right.
We couldn't get the zoom out fast enough, so SpoTV gives it to us straight on. Rush is playing game 2, Papa.
Now we know the score. We're keeping Rush. Let's get into game number 2. That's what I want to see. But Afreeca are going to pull their own jungle change. Welcome back, Spirit. Spirit's been watching Rush, both on stream in the past and now also. He has been watching him in game number 1. And now we have a lot more experience for the side of Afreeca Freecs, who clearly are not taking this best of 3 lightly.
Yeah. Mowgli having a bunch of games in succession, you know, playing a lot in a row. And Spirit comes in here, looks a little bit pissed off, honestly. I hope he's on his game. He still has his jacket on. Perhaps he's like, I'm here to take back my jungle position.
He looks like a man that was told he was going to have a day off and didn't get one.
Yeah.
Do you like being called into work on Sunday, Valdez? It's not ideal.
I mean, we do that every Sunday, but no. I mean, everybody else is playing around, and we got to be here and do our work. But guys, we got a match to cast. We got a pick and ban for game number 2 right now.
On we roll into game number 2. Sion going to be banned on the red side. Don't want to deal with any more Sions this series. Does KT Rolster? See where things go. We often see the Azir banned away against Yukal, who just picked up his first win on Rise, was 0-1 previously. His effective champion pool are Azir and Talia outside of that Rise. So far, we're seeing just standard respect bans for the meta in the first round.
Certainly seems that way. Already a couple of junglers going to be taken out here, the last one being Sejuani, so looks like Spirit doesn't want to hop onto that one, first pick or no.
Azir will be what you'd expect to be banned as the final ban, but they don't want to give away the Skarner. Very interesting. Kuro has played a lot of Azir this season, and it's gone from being a meme pick for him in previous years to a power pick. Will Afreeca reach for something else instead? Look at a lot of roles here. The AD carry is only down the Varus. There are other power picks available. The Gangplank is up and isn't often a first pick.
I mean, you're leaving Camille and Azir available to both Smeb and Yukal. It's huge picks for both of them. Do you just get them both right now? Do you let them sink in? Do you go with the normal kind of AD carry and support picks that you see very early on? Swain also another guy.
Up.
Forgot about him.
And he is a flex pick. Smeb has talked about it many times, is a big fan of it. So we're going to think that it might be top lane Swain, but Yukal has already played the mid lane Swain.
Looks good.
We'll wait and see what the decision is there. Again, Camille is a true flex pick, so they could consider picking it up in this game.
She says, let's play Xin Zhao.
Well, MVP tried that, and it didn't go so well.
Xin Zhao pick went from 100% to 50%. Let's challenge, let's do it. I don't know about that. Random fan.
Xayah picked up for the side of KT, but you would imagine Rakan would be the power pick takeaway against Afreeca, who are much more of a Rakan team, as Tucson is a monster on that pick, but it seems like they might just be giving up the Lovers duo, as Tom Kench is going to be coming out for Tucson.
Tom Kench, generally a pick that's not seen as a huge playmaker like the Alistair, but then you get Abyssal Voyages, especially for a guy like Tucson. He's certainly one to be as aggressive as possible with a pick like Tom Kench.
Zach could be rolled back here for the Afreeca Freecs, will be picked up for Spirit. They do go for the early Tom Kench with GP, and that means they have the Abyssal Voyage and also the Cannon Barrage for some creative plays. KT will want to flex for as long as possible, and obviously the Rakan will be locked in. First time we've had the Lovers duo today. We had some Star-Crossed Lovers, but the true Lovers are reunited. Tears are laid everywhere, not just for Rush now that the Lovers are together. Yeah. KT Rolster start to ban away. They ban away a champion who is very strong against Swain in the mid lane by taking away Anivia.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot of damage in the face of Swain when he's charging at you with that Anivia. take it away. The Camille ban makes a lot of sense. KT, they wanted to reach for that Lovers Duo, which makes a lot of sense, but does mean that neither Smeb nor Rush will be playing Camille.
There's like Afreeca Freecs who want something like Caitlyn to reinforce their draft because they have the Gangplank and the scaling jungler on the side of Afreeca. The Azir ban further suggests that we will be seeing a mid lane Swain in this game. No guarantees, but looking likely.
Yeah. Very curious to see what Rush is going to jump onto against the more passive farming jungler of the Zac. You mentioned he's famous for his aggressive picks. Could we see something like a Nidalee? We mentioned the Xin Zhao before, but something more realistic, certainly with the Olaf bans. Thinking about those kinds of picks, Nidalee, maybe not the Lee Sin just yet, but
Rengar, another pick that he's played a lot of in solo queue, and there's always something like the Jax to be considered with his carry-minded players. Are we going to be seeing some big double AP action? The answer is yes, as the Vladimir will come in, likely for Smeb in the top lane. Very good matchup into the Gangplank, wants to bust him in the 1v1, so going to be Smeb jumping back onto the Vladimir. Afreeca Freecs have a lot of information. They're only waiting on the jungler. Yeah. We'll see what they make, and you can really toggle between an aggressive jungler or a more farming jungler, depending on what's locked in. Well, seems like Kuro is considering being on Karma duty. This would be rolling back a comp the Rocks Tigers have played a couple of times. I mentioned the Caitlyn. They need pressure somewhere, so I do like the Caitlyn lock-in, even if it's not ultra comfort for Kramer.
Yeah, with a lot of mid lane bans taken off the table here towards the end especially. Could see something like a Karma coming in, but some other options still available. But thinking about the Karma, here's 5 seconds left. Will they lock it in? The answer is yes.
Do feel like this will be very easy for Smeb to, Yukal, I should say, the Swain, to itemize against by going for Magic Resist. The build the BDD went for. The Abyssal Mask is looking very tasty in this particular game, and it amps the damage coming through from the Vladimir. So the teamfight dream, the Wombo engage. Can we have a Wombo jungler? Or are we fighting?
Oh no!
He's calling
really?
for it. He's doing it!
The Rush Lee Sin gets locked in. We're gonna see it, guys, on 8.5. Even Spirit's got a smile on his face. I can hardly believe it, Papa.
And this is the champion he is known for in solo queue. There are so many YouTube highlights of his Lee Sin. His climbing of the ladder in Korea was what got so many people to watch him. In NA, around the world, everyone knows Rush's Lee Sin. How much counterplay will there be for it from the side of Afreeca? Because Rush is going hunting, and he wants to find some bloblets as soon as possible.
I can't believe they actually did it. The Nidalee made sense, especially on 8.5, but they're just throwing caution to the wind. A little bit of fun. Rush, he proves, hey, I can play Sejuani. I'm pretty good. You know, I can handle the big boys here in LCK. And then he says, let me truly prove it to you. Let me play Lee Sin on 8.5. It's happening.
And honestly, a kick onto one of Karma or Caitlyn. Doesn't matter if Tahm Kench is there, if he's not instantly with the Devour. That's a real disengage, and killing one of those two. The comp from the side of Afreeca kind of falls apart. They do have very strong lanes in mid and bot after going for a very late rotation. But I'm sure everyone is super hyped to see the LCK debut of Rush's Lee Sin. He's going to be playing it. They've also got the double AP going. KT Rolster trying to buy as many hearts and minds as possible on one day. And you got to say, they're winning.
They're certainly gaining a lot of fans, as if they didn't have enough already. I think this is one day where I'll allow everybody, you can get excited, it's okay. Rush is playing Lee Sin. The match doesn't matter, it's all about Rush on the Lee Sin tonight. We're about to see it right now. The countdown has started. Let's jump into game number 2 right now. Match 90, the final match of LCK, and we get a Lee Sin. Comes in. I don't think we've had another Lee Sin in this split, actually. I'm not 100% sure, but it feels that way. It wasn't a big pick early on, from what I can remember. It was all about the tank junglers.
May have been one, but it's 1 or 0 for the Lee Sin. And remember, if you look at his solo queue ranking, getting to #1 on Challenger, it wasn't playing Lee Sin. That's his freelo champion. It always has been. 21 games of Lee, 13-8. Contrast that to his most played in Camille, 78 wins, 48 losses. So he has played 126 games of Camille, a lot less on the Lee Sin. But this is Rush's Lee Sin, and there were so many reasons that he wouldn't play it today. It's 8.5. It's not even 8.6 with the buffs to the Lee Sin and the extra damage. It means there's no tracker's knife in the game. Everything was set up for Rush to go onto the role playing junglers, and he turns a fast one. He locks in the Lee Sin. This man is clean on the Lee. So hopefully we're going to see some creative stuff, as already he's starting red side, he's soloing down the red buff and allowing Xayah to hit the lane at level 1.
Everybody's seen their fair share of Lee Sins, Insect, Peanut, but is Rush going to make his name as another big LCK Lee Sin? He's looking to do that today. Thought maybe it'd be red buff into gank somewhere and get this train rolling, but it seems like not just yet. Gonna kill every small raptor. All right, he does his farming.
On Spring 2018, we have had 3 Lee Sins, all of them defeats. The most recent one was Yujun, and we're talking about second week of the season. This is 8.1. We tried to repress 8.1, but Yujun, Spirit, and Peanut have all played the Lee Sin. None of them finding success. Peanut definitely very associated with the Lee Sin, but to many people, Rush is the Lee Sin player. It's going to be very exciting to see him bring it off, and how will make it happen, because probably have to sit onto the warding trinket or buy a lot of control wards because the mobility of the tracker's knife is gone.
Yeah, certainly will hurt his build. Lee Sin, known for early game pressure, fantastic ganking, especially once you hit 6. So hard to get away from a good Lee Sin. I mean, everybody's had those moments where you're in solo queue, a guy locks in Lee Sin, you check his OPGG, he's like 20-1 on Lee Sin, you're like, well, I guess we lost, as there is a Lee Sin Smurf in my game. And
if you're in Challenger in North America for those couple of years, or if you're in Korea, you definitely hope it isn't Rush. It's kind of how it always was. It's Nidalee and his Lee Sin are super famous for a reason. Wait and see what his pathing is like. So far, it's been a mostly full clear. Hasn't gone for his Krugs, but the ward on Krugs does tell Afreeca that Lee Sin is almost certainly going to be bot side as he's killing the Scuttle Crab, but probably not going to start up the Infernal.
Well, as you say that, he's doing something in there. There it is. The Infernal gets started up. There is no vision around here. And with the push on the bot side, certainly have this option. Gonna come over and help the Lee Sin that only has the blue buff. It seems like Karma, Kuro in the mid lane has no idea about this, even though he placed down a ward. And with this help, looks like a very early Infernal Drake. Rush already making his name on the Rift. Unless there's a steal, looks like they're a little bit too late. And that's gonna go over to Rush on the Lee Sin, early Infernal.
Yeah, picks up the Infernal, can't solo it, does need the team to back him up, but the lane was in the right spot. Deft and Mata able to push it in with the Deadly Plumage early, and they get the Infernal. Red buff secured. A very high damage team. 4 people going to be building damage on the side of KT. Makes you feel really good about that, as Yukal has been on point with this Swain. Probably our best Swain player so far, you would have to argue, was BDD, who has been an absolute boss turret diving on the Swain. We've seen some good Swain play, and Yukal has been good as well.
You can pull him into range just like that. Kuro's got to be real careful against the Swain. Been playing a lot of Swain recently, trying to learn it, and Phase Rush seems to certainly be the...
Rush?
Yeah, Phase Rush.
Rush?
Seems to be the best rune.
Oh.
It only makes sense. It's got Rush in the name.
Legit no counterplay.
You just run in and you don't die. No counterplay against that. See if Rush can recreate that himself.
Deft and Mata getting pushed in now after dodging out of the lane. Lane control is largely going to be lost for a little bit. Rush himself is up top side. Skirmish Saber so far. And here's some runes to copy at home, kids, if you want to be the best Lee Sin ever.
Futures market.
He wants to build some more long swords, baby.
More long swords. Certainly could be coming in. We'll help him buy some extra control wards as well, I suppose, if you want to get those to help out with your mobility, as you've lost a lot. What if he has a sick game on Lee Sin and then 8.6 hits for playoffs? and then he plays Lee Sin in the playoffs, and he just like goes off like mad. That would be insane.
Well, you're basically writing a fan fiction for the 40,000 people in Twitch chat to enjoy with that particular comment. It's that weird thing where one of Rush's big problems was, you know, the reality of the Sejuani Nidalee top side of his jungle pool into his struggles on some of the meta stuff was a problem for him in the past. Right now, he has been able to robustly play everything else, and he didn't suddenly forget how to play Lee Sin. He is going to be a very skilled Lee Sin player. It is a what if. Do you double ban out Rush? Your first thought is no, but then if he dominates you on Nidalee or Lee Sin, then you look silly. So it is an interesting thing to judge if he is starting a best of 5. We'll notice that it is a Resolve tree from Keen. He was the first person in the LCK to go Resolve Gangplank against Vladimir. That's when Gangplank had a lot more ways to generate gold, Kleptomancy, and support items. I believe it was Relic Shield at the time, was available. Nowadays, the gold generation is lower, and no Klepto means he's less likely to be all-in and die to Smeb, but it will happen eventually when item timings work out.
Yeah. I'm curious to see where Rush is going to go after this red buff. He hits level 6 on the red buff, of course, very nicely timed. And I mentioned it before, this is a really nice spike for the Lee Sin, red buff and level 6. He's blind, but he's finding his way through the jungle, looking for a gank.
I mean, he does have the ability to kick the Gangplank out of turret, and that's not something that the Oranges is particularly good at helping with, so I like the attention. We'll just turn onto the Scuttle, pick that one up, but a real way for Spirit to have more presence than a Lee Sin. He cannot win skirmishes against the Lee Sin. His mid lane does have priority, but for now, he's going to be looking for a shop, so all Zach can do is power farm and hope for the best.
Rush himself just going in to farm a little bit more. He had no opportunity to gank anyone with the red buff level 6. Once more longswords. Only one control ward for now. Not sure if he placed that one up in the tri-brush towards the top lane.
Isn't able to steal away the blue buff, so that still will go over to Karma and help her to push in against Swain, who's very comfortable picking up CS. And if you think about the KT roster, in general, they are very happy with their scaling. You could argue that Zach does outscale the Lee Sin, and in most cases you'd be right, but there is always the potential for a big play to be made by Rush, however late the game goes. And the rest of the comp, the Vladimir and the Swain, are only facing one true tank in the Zach. He's the only person who can stack magic resist very capably. So I feel like team fights could potentially be a very happy place for the side of KT. Think of the zones of the Hemo Plague and the Demonic Ascension, 3-item Xayah, and a Zeke's Convergence. That lets you know there's a lot of happy places for KT to go. And so far, Afreeca seem very second to the map and happy to opt into the scaling game against KT.
Karma Caitlyn can be really fun. We've seen the ridiculous shields that the Karma can offer as it goes into the late game, as well as Caitlyn's strength. The early and late game having a small advantage down on the bottom side so far, about 10 CS in total. Very curious to see just how much Fucal can do on the Swain as well. You know, how strong is this pick that all of a sudden it gets buffed a bunch of times, and then now it's a top-level pick or banned usually in the LCK as well.
It's just so flexible, and it will always do the role it's picked for. There are some champions where if you miss your power spike, you don't really do anything. You think of if Corki gets a Trinity Force and dies twice and gets Trinity Force late, not really going to be able to have the same threat as Corki hitting his item spikes. Swain will always buy a catalyst, turn it into something and get tanky and control space. He will not die quickly. He is very hard to focus down, and he zones so well in a team fight. If you have a consistent damage dealer, I'm not a big fan of, say, Swain Jhin, but Swain Xayah, with a consistent damage dealer from the 80 carry role, Swain will be very reliable, and he can be a true flex pick outside of some bad matchups like the Anivia that was banned away by KT. KT showed their hand and said, hey, we're playing mid lane Swain. And the Karma is certainly no lane counter to the Swain.
Just farming up a Storm, as seems to be the way in the mid lane in 2018. And Bada trying to make some plays with his Rakan as well. We've seen what his Thresh can do. And in terms of Drake control, it's been all about Rush on top of that. As Spirit is going to make a dive up on the top side. Not much of a dive, but trying to get on top of Smep. They force his flash away. But in the end, it's going to be actually a one-on-one.
He's got 5 soul fragments.
He's going to flash it, and Kuro, he's going to be in a bit of trouble here. Waits for it. First blood, solo kill. Yukal over Kuro. Kuro not understanding the damage that Swain can do.
Gotta see those 5 soul fragments and know that the sometimes tickle was gonna be a big prod. He understood his damage output, he used his Q to bait out the shield and then got the kill. Great solo kill from Yukal. Probably not gonna be that double MVP day today for Kuro.
Certainly not gonna be, although Yukal, okay, does trade stopwatch for the ultimate of the Zac. So.
You know, I didn't expect Yukal to be the one swagging around the rift, but his swagger, oh boy, Yukal. Very, very nice stuff there in the mid lane. May have lost a stopwatch, but very nicely played. The Lee Sin is online, level 8 now, Warrior and Chat completed. Now we just need some nice kicks, and I think KT fans, they're done for the day, they're happy. That's all they want to see.
Yeah, even if KT lose, they're like, okay, that's enough. You know, whatever, that's fine. We've had enough good stuff in one day.
Look, they don't expect to win the league. We know that already. They're KT fans, but we watched the replay here. Notice that he starts with 5 soul fragments, and that should have been Kuro's first inclination to get out. The flash is never going to work over the wall. Comes through, able to burst down. It's about 200 damage at this point in the game with the 5 points in the Demon Flare. Gets the kill. Very nicely done by Yukal.
Yeah, so things return to normal after that play. And I say normal, but Kuro doesn't have flash. What are you going to do against Lee Sin? The flash comes in. The dragon kick rush makes the play happen in the mid lane with a perfectly executed dive.
All right, he's trying to weigh his options here. Doesn't know whether an enemy team is. Takes an extra turret shot. Doesn't matter.
There he goes.
Trinket ward, still pretty good, it turns out.
Yeah. You know, Lee Sin, he gets nerfed with the tracker knife going down. You don't have as many wards, but when you do have a ward, you can still do Lee Sin things, as we did see out of Rush. So, still making the pick work, and now we have a 2-0 Swain. The Lee Sin certainly doing its job.
Wonder what this means for future games. If they do go on to 2-0, the fans are going to be calling for Rush and have good reason to. Yukal diving.
Yukal's never going to die here. He doesn't take damage to this. He doesn't even have to use his ultimate. Didn't have the ability, but the damage over time is enough to take him out. And there you go, 3-0 Yukal, as the Swain is just... There's a reason he gets pick ban status now on 8.5, guys.
He's just so damn tanky, and the lifesteal tanking of the ultimate. He's 3-0, he's got the Abyssal Mask. BDD already showed us how aggressive you can be, and Spirit might pick up some farm. He can't stop the turret going down. KT into a massive gold lead, 3,600 gold.
Wow, KT looking really good today, and they're just playing aggressive. They're playing without pressure. I really felt it when I watched them against Kingzone that they just looked a little bit scared, too respectful, you know? They were like, no, these guys are really good. We got to be careful. But when they're like, oh, guys, it's an exhibition game, let's play Rush, they just look so damn good.
And that's the weird thing is that I'm sure if you told KT this was an elimination match, they would have approached it very differently. We can't know for sure if the unique variable is Rush. Maybe Rush is someone to herald an aggressive mindset and force them onto the front foot, because every time KT has met Kingzone, they've started already looking defeated and have been quickly defeated, Valdez. So it is refreshing to see them playing with the reckless abandon they haven't in many other games. A good selection dilemma to have for KT Rolster if they can go on to win this series. Rush going for another solo. He's playing a bit of PvE this game. He's 1v1ing.
He's all about the objectives, you know. Can't really gank in the top lane. The mid lane is just a farm fest, but then Yukal turned it into a 1v1 killing spree.
And let me tell you a story. The only time I can remember the global fans of the LCK screaming the name of a player who wasn't playing and saying, where is he? Ask the team, can you get him in there? The last player that fit that bill was BDD for Kingzone when they were Longzhu Gaming in spring. They never played him, and everyone every week said, we know the hype around BDD, we saw the montages, where is BDD? Now, he didn't have a connection, he just had the famous YouTube videos. But they were right on that one, and maybe they're right on this one as Rush back into the mid lane.
Good respect from Kuro. I think he sees it coming this time around. Spirit down on the bottom side. Rush isn't going to be there. Where is he going to be? Especially after that Rift Herald was taken. So good respect there. Doesn't get dived a second time.
Sin backs away. He's got camps to pick up. That was just an inference from the side of Rush. Sorry, from the side of Afreeca. They knew that Lee Sin was on the top side and jungling around, and they ended up making a very nice move there. Rush looking for the interrupt. Spirit is just going to gap close away.
The W of Swain, Vision of Empire. Seems like one of the most useless abilities in the game. But
except for one scenario. Man, is it good at check and Baron.
It is so good at that.
It is super good.
It's so good. It's such a low cooldown too. Once you get to like, you know, rank 5 and all your cooldown on your items and stuff. You can get it like every 8-10 seconds.
Yeah.
It's just going to be up and you'll always know. And outside of that, I mean, it does do a small amount of extra damage. Obviously, your QER is going to be the majority of it, but if you can lock someone down, certainly can do some nice AoE damage.
Gives you a soul fragment as well, which can be very useful in the all-in. But I think the ability to check brush, a lot of champions that target nerf by saying, okay, now this ability doesn't check brush anymore. It can be really important. Putting down that Rift Herald mid lane, it's going to charge, it's going to get the turret. Spoilers, there it is.
God, Papa. You always spoil us here at LCK.
I'm just so good at the damage calculations. If only I had mechanics, I'd be right up there, Valdez.
Well, KT looking really good with Rush. Will he play in playoffs?
What does it mean, Valdez?
I know, that's what we're trying to figure out, right? This game, we said before, it doesn't really mean much in terms of your score, your playoff score, or whatever. But when KT smash you in game 1 with Calm, you know, meticulous play, and then game 2, Rush is out jungling Spirit, taking every objective, and they're up 5,000 gold at 17 minutes with a third Drake at that time. What does it mean, Papa?
It means one thing for sure. Ban the Swain. We know that Smeb plays it. Ukal has shown he is fantastic at it. The Swain needs to be banned. We know that part for sure. Everything else, still inference. It would not be a surprise to score start a best of 5, but now it would not be a surprise if KT goes down, that Rush is subbed in.
We'll have to wait and see once we do get into the playoffs. Who will it be that KT face off against? That's really the first question. They have either SKT or KSV. I feel like maybe Rush is a better opponent against Ambition.
Okay.
Blank.
But, going in for a very aggressive trade as Rush was running down. Backs away.
Yeah, but they back off and they're again thinking about it. But on a ward here is Rush backing. Spirit also spotted on a ward, so nothing doing in the bottom side.
Ukal is going to dominate every single fight he is in. We'll have Leandries very soon. Going for a cheap build as Kuro wants to pack the Ardent Sensor onto the Inspire Shield and give it over to the Caitlyn. I don't think it matters, Valdez. The Swain will solo win a team fight unless he heavily misplays. And Kramer obviously piecing together a second item. So they don't want to group till they have Infinity Edge onto the Caitlyn. This protect the Caitlyn strategy did not work for Rock's Tigers yesterday, but it was in the face of a Jinx, so a slightly different opposition. They have almost no map control, and Smeb continues to push in. Rush continues to farm up. We're waiting for that first big team fight in game number 2.
Kuro at this point, he's basically just catch up from behind, help Kramer bot, build as much AP, and try to make big shields. And I suppose she can do a nice bit of, you know, chunk damage to the not tanky jungler in Lee Sin, so there's something.
He's going to be building tank in this game. He's actually working on the Dead Man's Plate, an old classic of the Rush Lee Sin build. No Black Cleaver in this particular game, at least not as a early item. Bot lane.
Okay, nice little double knock up there from Mata. Says, I'm the better one. And look at this, the Swain from the jungle doing a little bit of extra damage. That Q was a millimeter short. And the TP is going to discourage KT from getting in there, but
I wouldn't be sure about that, Valdez.
Another miscue, but the leash onto Tushin means he is going to go down, and Mata getting low himself. Would Ukal actually dive there? I feel like at this point he had the ability, but decides against it.
He thought about it. If he heard there were no summoners on Kramer, I think he would have gone Rambo, but The Here's Johnny moment is abated. He will move away. He will pull back. Rush owns the enemy jungle. This is my jungle now, says Rush as he waits around the entrance to the red buff. It will be bot lane outer turret, the third of the game, going the way of KT, who have honestly been pretty flawless in game number 2.
Yeah. You mentioned how Rush says it's my jungle now. Certainly did a good job on his 2 assists, but after all, I feel like we were joking about it before, but I think that spirit didn't really show up to play today. Rush has been out jungling him through and through.
I feel like that's a little bit harsh in terms of the spirit side of the coin because he's on Zac. He can't walk up to Lee Sin. He needs information from his lanes, which he hasn't had. And mid lane priority hasn't been there from the Karma. So he was in some way set up to fail. But we also have to reward Rush, who has been smart in his pathing. He has not made any overambitious moves. He looked for that dive in the mid lane, but pulled away when clearly there was some information available to KT. So it's been a controlled display from Rush, and that's really what fans wanted to see from him, is that he could still have the flair of before, but also find his feet pretty quickly into the LCK, and maybe in this weird match where it is an important match and not an important match in equal swaths. But so far, so good for Rush.
Yeah. Don't want to be too hard on Spirit, but Rush certainly knowing his, what is the case for his Lee Sin versus Zac in these certain lanes, and he's been doing it perfectly so far, taking every objective. Has finished the Dead Man's Plate up here. And he's looking to give Lee Sin his first win in the LCK. At least for, well, not ever, but obviously for this season, I should say.
UCAL is 2 levels up on Kuro. He's outrageously far ahead. Not going to be involved in this, but they get a kidnap anyway. Only Featherstorm is expended from Deft.
I can confirm when you are a Swain, we haven't seen it too much in LCK.
Oh, this is beautiful. They have the wards down. So many flank wards for UCAL. And if they walk into this Swain, they will die. Baron started.
Yeah, UCAL just laughing in the face of Keen. They actually do back off of it, after all. Pretty early as well. They don't have a massive tank just yet, just the Dead Man's Plate Lee Sin.
It's a good Baron start. They got information from it, but wards will start to be cleared. Doesn't spot the one ward behind the blue buff as UCAL.
He's going to be engaged upon here. You can't be bursted down, especially before the Zonias is completed. So they get the flash out of UCAL, who was getting a little bit feisty there way down the lane.
Not 100% sure I needed to flash, but defensive-minded. They are so far ahead that giving up a kill is about the only way that we can get back into this game. Ardent Sensor complete. 2 items onto the Caitlyn. This is where the good times start to roll for Afreeca. But then you look at the side of KT. Zeke's Convergence, 2 items on the Xayah, and such a mismatch in terms of mid laners. How far ahead UCAL is. The Vladimir, he's interested in killing the Gangplank by going for the Void Staff very early. Again, things comfortable. They are leading in CS in 3 lanes and the jungle, so they are far ahead in this game. Second Infernal of the game, easily picked up by the side of KT. They'll be frustrated to see an Ocean as the 5th spawn, but it's the 5th Drake, so you take whatever you can get. KT's Baron call should close the game, but for now, Afreeca fighting well in the area.
Rush continues to be 100% on the objectives on the Rift. Having a bit of fun here. It's funny to see the Lee Sin kind of be tamed a little bit. He really only had that 1 turret dive, but outside of that, he's been just about controlling the map, saying Zac can't get near me, so I guess this is my jungle now, and he's been really good at that.
Is an old school counter pick to a lot of what's going on here. If you have a Juggermaw comp, which they don't have, but let's just say if you do, you kick the Kog'Maw away who's in the front line, you kick them towards your team, the shields don't matter, you can't get there. Same can be applied to a lot of things going on here. You can kick a Tahm Kench, insect onto the Tahm Kench while he has someone in his belly. You get a 2-for-1 special. Oh, yeah. You're feeling really good about that. You kick away the Caitlyn from the Karma, the shields can't come through. There's a lot of playmaking available for Rush, so it's not just, I'm a Lee Sin player, I'm locking it in. It's actually a pretty controlled and smart pick for the comp he's facing.
They were thinking about it there. Nice devour here, but it's going to be 2 members. Sped coming from behind. Doesn't really have the help of his team just yet. He's going to be locked down, but there is that health regeneration. UCAL not here for the entirety of the fight, was pushing the top lane. So KT, they go for it. Not able to get any kills, but at least nobody dies.
Give it the shout, because it is a flanking level 16 Vladimir, but not quite enough follow-up to make it stick. Deft actually gets pretty heavily chunked out from this as well. FLICKR going to get Baron control at minimum from this. As you notice, there's already 3 control wards around the Baron there from the side of KT. So we're going to have to go for another vision mission if we're going to actually see this objective claimed. Yukal now has a zone years, so he's basically God when it comes to 25-minute Swain.
It's ridiculous when you get this far ahead on a Swain. You can just walk in the face of them. Once you get the Zonias, you're like, I dare you to attack me, because I'm not going to die, ever.
I may be their papa, but Swain is their daddy in this particular game. He is immensely far ahead and cannot be trifled with on patch 8.5.
Swain just going to laugh in their face, especially with that Abyssal Mass. Basically doesn't take damage. Against Kuro, that's where the majority of that magic damage was going to come from. Wouldn't have even minded the Route of Ages coming through, but I suppose he wants to be extra tanky. He's got enough damage on his side, as you were mentioning before.
KT waiting for that moment where they can make the big flanking play around Baron. They control all of the pressure this game. They feel like they will win every skirmish. But do note that it is Vladimir, so Ghost Flash not going to be the teleport on the Vlad. The Scuttle Crab is controlled by the side of Afreeca as this curious double control ward instantly goes on to the pit.
Something about that today.
Now,
it happens so many times between the telecom teams.
Now, it can actually be relevant situationally as we're looking for an insect play.
There it is. He's going to knock him over to the left side. Flashes over the wall, actually. Not enough damage coming out. The Grey Health is going to help Tushin survive at the end of it all.
Used quite a lot of tools to make this happen, and now they back away. Rush taking a couple of autos and an ult, and has to back away. See what it means for KT. Trying for a lot. Tushin didn't have his summoners up. That's why he pulled the trigger there. So no Lee Syndrome. Looking for a nice play. Now KT peeling around the Baron. Vladimir considering ghosting in.
Mata from the left, and there it is. Gonna get 2, but the kidnap is gonna get them in. But Karma disappears, and Mata somehow is surviving. Smeb and Yukal say hello. Nobody's gonna survive in this fight. Absolutely no way at all. They all go down. Double kill the 2 members. Only Keen survives. That should be the Baron going to KT.
Corridor meets Smeb and Yukal, dominating them with double AP. We're back to Season 2. Press R and run at them. It works out pretty well for KT Rolster, and that will certainly be Baron at 28 minutes.
Well, we talked about statements coming into this matchup. KT have made a huge statement. They played their sub-jungler, and they are lolling all over Afreeca
I mean,
today.
Mata is on a control ward and just says, I'll take 3, thanks very much. Doesn't matter if the kidnap is there. Karma dies before she even hits the ground. Instantly dead. And then Smeb's in a narrow corridor. It may not be Equalizer, but Hemoplague does the work. Yukal is monstrously far ahead. KT Rolster wipe the floor with Afreeca Freecs.
They're making this look really one-sided, not second place versus third place, with the third place team winning. So certainly big implications. Afreeca going to have to come up with something more, as both of their junglers not winning today, as it certainly looks like they're not going to win game 2.
But again, it's so hard to know what it means, because wouldn't it be the most KT thing ever if they 2-0 here, make it against Afreeca and lose? That's the reality, that Afreeca Freecs are not playing for anything. Every team takes matches like this differently. We can only inspect what's working. Rush is working. Rush is looking great on the side of KT. I think it's very difficult to read too much into what Afreeca are showing, apart from the fact that Rush does seem a step ahead of both players on this day.
Certainly, you know, it means a lot for him, as you mentioned. The first thing you said is that it's an exhibition match, but it's Rush's debut in the LCK. He came here, gave up streaming, gave up NA, wherever else. He says, no, I want to play in LCK, and he made a statement for himself, saying, I can out-jungle both of these guys and help my team out.
Maybe a secret agent with a scoreline 005, but we know that he's big in the hearts of the global fans, so this will mean a lot to them. They've been waiting, just like we waited for BDD. They have waited faithfully for Rush. Every time KT play, they're getting new fans, because the fans have known they have to watch every KT game, because Rush might play, you never know. Yeah. It's not often announced ahead of time. KT Twitter announcing it. And, well, if he's made you a KT fan, you have a lot to look forward to and a lot to dread. That is the way of KT Rolster.
Yes, for sure. So many times debated by Papa Smithy. Finally, the fans win one time, and they win big. It's not Rush coming out and failing, falling flat on his face or anything like that. It's a top-level performance against the #2 team in LCK, saying, I can roll with the big boys. It'll be interesting to see how he does against Peanut on King's Zone, rather. We'll see if that ever happens, Papa.
Long have we waited. Rush into KT. He's inaugurated. Seems to be the way that we're seeing in this game, and we don't know what it means for his starting spot. We do know that Smeb is a level up on Keen and is Vladimir, so we'll have a happy time.
KT as a whole, it's 12,500 gold ahead. It's just ridiculous levels right now. Still 36 seconds on the Baron, too. Looking for their second inhibitor turret, and honestly, it looks like just looking for another fight. They want it. Rush, he wants to get the big insect play once again, as they even delay taking out the inhibitor, but finally do it.
All right, Rush, where is the insect play? You know you want it. They want the cherry on top. He's gonna hold onto the Q for now. They'll back away. The base is in tatters. There is no light at the end of the tunnel this time for Afreeca. They do not have the scaling advantage. KT have just the biggest Swain ever. He is 4,000 gold ahead of someone he outscales. It is outrageous how strong UCAL is in this game. They back away, they buy some more sick items, and if Afreeca ever try to face check something, they will instantly blow up.
It's just decimation, almost decimation, only 8 kills, but Rush says, hey, I'll take another objective, thank you very much, 100%, as we get the zoom in. Seems like we're making the Korean side some fans as well for Rush. They weren't sure what to expect. I'm sure Twitch chat could have told them ahead of time.
An old man Score, the oldest player in the LCK, watches this and has conflicting emotions about his now protege putting in a great performance. A selection dilemma, as we mentioned, as Rush has been better than expected. No, we knew he would be clean. He's a great mechanic player, but sliding into a team that has been settled for so long, you know, UCAL was able to do it quickly. Now Rush has been able to do it quickly. It's a level of dynamic KT that we didn't see in 2017. So maybe this year of getting Smeb into being the primary shot caller is being helpful.
Rush just running by, dodging everything. Karma Q, barrel, nearly baiting out the elastic slingshot from Spirit. And that dead man's plate makes him always a threat. Just running in the front, saying,
he's got his flash up as well.
You can't touch me.
We can definitely see a big play coming soon. That'll be the last thing. We don't need the Rush pentakill. They just want to see one insect play in order for this to happen.
I'm sure they'd like it, but it's just going to be another Mana MVP play as Kuro gets out of the fight. Where's the insect? Where's the kick? It's just going to be a stopwatch as Rush going to be the team player in the end, giving some extra kills over to UCAL and over to Smeb. UCAL almost going down, actually, in the end. Pulls Keen in.
Look at the pose.
There you go. There it is. Finally gets it. Kicks Kramer in, and the crowd goes wild. He stays alive as well.
They're still diving.
After all of that, Smeb is going to flash out. And there you go. A statement has been made tonight. Rush comes in. The quickest 2-0 we've had in a bit. And KT gonna crush them. 2-0, takes out the Nexus.
And it's a perfect game as well. Boy. A perfect game for KT Rolster over the side of Afreeca Freecs. Was it an important match for Afreeca? No, but the way in which KT won is something for the future, is something to be remembered. The debut for Rush is oh so clean. And what a game from KT, and what a selection dilemma for when they play the first best of 5 in a week and a half.
This is everything that the fans were waiting for. It only took 89 matches, and then finally Rush came out in the last one of LCK. He looked clean as hell, as did KT as a whole.
And if the LCK could be scripted any better, please forward me to that author, because could it be more perfect than Rush makes his debut? We end the season, game number 90. On a perfect game. Rush is involved. Was he the superstar of this game? No, this was UCAL, but he was clean, and that's all he needs to be, is clean. As the fans go home happy, KT Rolster, hope will spring eternal. They have beaten one of the top teams. They have beaten Afreeca. Afreeca will be left to pick up the pieces. They will play in 2 weeks Sunday, so 2 weeks from today, at this exact stadium. They will play in the semi-final, and there's a real chance they'll have to face Rush again.
Certainly. I think after today, he earns himself a spot, especially if KT are suffering, or as a first pick, as a surprise. Hey, we're going to bring in Rush for game one, see how he does. If he gets another, great game, maybe we play him for game two and just continuously, as long as it continues working. But just having that in their back pocket is huge for KT. I was counting them out against Afreeca in the playoffs, but after today, I'm not so sure.
We will not know what to read into today, so we see KT and Afreeca play in the playoffs. But let's focus on the side of KT. Confident, ruthless, aggressive. Not words we've been able to say about KT against top teams. And if this needs to be the charm that actually gets KT to be aggressive against a top team, I'm excited to see it. Rush waited for his time, jumps over.
Oh, so clean.
So clean. That's the way he's always been. He's the kind boy. He's the kind, clean boy.
Good.
As everyone's happy from KT. How about a couple of turret dives just to add to the insult to injury? KT Rolster too good for Afreeca Freecs.
They're turret diving, they're fountain diving as they pick up the casual perfect game that I didn't even realize. You pointed that out at the end. It could not have been more perfect. 2-0, perfect game. One of the best debuts we've seen in a while, for sure. And, well, there you go. He wasn't doing the big damage, but he was clean, and the rest of his team was right behind him.
Hey, on patch 8.6, that clean kick does more damage, and that big deeps
yeah.
might be bigger in that particular series, but this one was all about what it represented. And the perfect game for KT Rolster. No objectives at all picked up by Afreeca. No chance in this game. Zach never got going. Potential queries from Mowgli and Spirit, but again, very hard to read too much into it. It wasn't an important match for the teams when it comes to standings, but when it comes to the confidence levels, especially of Rush, who gave up a lucrative streaming career to follow his dream of playing in the LCK, his words are going to be very interesting. We'll see if we get an interview with him. He might be pulled in even if he doesn't win the MVP. It's Spo TV. We do crazy things.
110%, I can tell you guys, he's going to be pulled in. When you get a debut that looked as clean as that, you got to talk to him as well.
Rush is the only guy who wins in the regular season on Lee Sin in LCK Spring 2018. Yep. It's now 1-3. He looks at the other three and says, why are you putting down my win rate? Yeah. Lee Sin's still where it's at.
Playoffs are going to be fun. I can't wait. It's so much more interesting. I'm not going to say the other word. Now that KT seem to have some extra power level added to their lineup. Just extra options. Another jungler that can play other stuff that perhaps Score wouldn't be as comfortable on, like a Lee Sin,
Score's Lee Sin is not very good.
Yeah.
I'm willing to say
there you go.
Let's see if the MVP is here. Are we leaning in?
Okay.
We're giving it to you, Carl. He deserves it, but guess what? Look at Score. He's like, hey, guys, I'm here.
Why is he there?
There's the Spo TV meme right there.
Oh,
Score's
boy.
like, hey, I'm old. How you guys doing?
I wish I was playing in this game.
Well,
he did make a little show up there on the Bannon minion a little bit later.
All right, what are your bets? I think we get Rush and we get Score in this interview.
You think we're going to get Score?
I think we're going to get both. Let's get in there. Let's load all the people up. Rush is walking past us. It's not a standing ovation. That's in Twitch chat, sadly, but...
Yeah, maybe just get the two junglers in there to help out you, Cal. The young kid on the lineup. But either way, guys, I'll hand it over to the interview. Should be a fun one. We'll see you in a bit.
제대로 보여줬는데요. 오늘 승리를 이끈 선수와 인터뷰가 준비가 되어 있습니다. 성승원 게스트와 함께 만나보시죠.
Against Afreeca Freecs. KT Rolster is building up, getting stronger and stronger. And we're going to have a solo interview with Yukal from KT Rolster. I mean, your poster on the picture was really awesome. What was that about? Well, during the photo shoot, I wanted to make something funny for our fans, so yeah, that's what I thought of. And it was a clean game on the side of KT Rolster. So how was today's match? Well, there wasn't more about the burden, but I just wanted to prove that I'm a good player so I can play as a starting member during the postseason and the playoffs.
단독 MVP자 사실상 그 MVP 포인트를 동시에 얻은 그런 경기가 됐잖아요.
So this is your first solo interview at Sport TV Games, so we have a lot of questions for you.
유칼이라는 뜻, 뭐 많은 분들도 알고 계시겠습니다만 본인의
So
입으로
what does your
말씀해
summoner's ID Yukal mean?
시절에는 우갈이라는 별명을
Well, I had a nickname
그걸 어떻게 이제
called Ugal at high school.
인터넷에 유칼이라 검색하니까 이게
So I was just thinking of some better ideas.
아 그래요?
And I looked up on the internet and I saw that Yukal means I'm strong.
아 그러구나. 저희는 뭐
It was something random thing on the internet, but I thought it would be suitable for my nickname.
팀을 위해서 이 한번 희생해서 뭔가 좀 자라나게 만드는 양분이 되겠다. 뭐 이런 식으로 생각을 했었거든요. 근데 그런 내용이 또 아니네요.
사실 육회장 칼국수도
And also, I did mean the abbreviation of a Korean menu called Yukgaejang Kalguksu, which makes sense that Yukal in Korean.
지금 만나볼까요?
Then let's check out some clips from highlights.
자, 1세트만 한번 먼저 살펴보도록 하겠습니다. 이 전투 상황 한번 말씀해 주실까요?
이게 사실은 타워를 안 치고 타워를 깨고 이제 들어오는 자크랑
We're actually trying to get the turret
사이언 같은 거
down
받아치기를 했었는데
and maybe catch out Cyan or Zac,
갑자기 들어가시더라고요.
but suddenly Rush just went in, so it was a hard team fight for us.
그 이후에 정돈하고 난 뒤에 경기를 풀어내는 멋진 장면들이 있었고 2세트 역시 등장했을 때 사실 미드 지역에서 뭔가 단독 킬이 나온다거나 그런 장면들이 충분히 나오기
And
좀
game
어려웠었던
2,
얘가 있었거든요.
네.
그런데 거기서 솔로
you made a solo kill in the laning phase.
이게 좀 각이 제대로 좀 보였던 게 있었어요.
사실 카르마의 처음 아이템을 보고 직감했어요. 이게
Well, as soon as I saw her starting item,
딜이 안 박히는데
그죠.
연운 사가지고 이제 한 번에 각이 보이더라고요.
well, she bought tears after she recalled and came back to the lane, so I knew that I was able to take solo kill.
완전히 막 2세트 유느님 외치고 좀 난리가 났어요.
So the fans are now calling you the god Yukal. Are you satisfied with your play today?
기운을 받아가지고
네.
제가 원석이 형 설거지를 1년 동안
Yeah, I'm really satisfied. And you know, I've learned a lot from Pawn. So I want to thank also Pawn for making me become such a great mid laner.
이 장면 기가 막혔어요. 네. 자 이렇게 되면서 이쪽 장면에서 그 연운 보고 나서 들어갔다는 거죠?
네.
So you saw the angle coming,
자,
right?
그리고 사실 마타 선수가 본을 위해서 왔습니다만 거의 필요가 없을 정도로 본인이 끝을 냈었고 이 장면 어떤 장면이죠?
이 장면 이제 상대 바텀 이제 다이버로 가자고.
Well, we was trying turret dive to the enemy bot laners.
그래서 그런지 뭐 결과도 굉장히
I was confident that we're gonna win any team fight that we open.
만나봤습니다. 사실 유칼 선수가 신인답지 않게 굉장히 멋진 장면들도 많이 만들었고 인터뷰 스킬도 있습니다만 사실 거장의
Yukal, you are a great player and you are so fluent in your interview, but we wanna just add some more spice for our interview.
그리고 오늘 멋진 장면 보였던 러쉬 선수까지 한 번에 박수.
We're gonna invite Smap and Rush for the interview.
네. 우리 인터뷰 코치 스맵. 먼저 그 러쉬 선수가 이제 어떻게 보면 팬들 입장에서는 굉장히 낯설 수 있으니까 자기 소개 먼저 부탁드릴게요.
Can you say hi to Korean fans here?
이번에 KT 새로 들어오게 된
네, 약간만 가까이. 네.
이번에 KT 새로 들어오게 된
I'm a new jungler for KT Rolster.
원래는 북미 쪽에서 활동을 하다가
I was a jungler in NALCS.
죄송합니다. 지금 좀 얼어가지고
And I'm feeling a little bit nervous, so yeah, I think I'm making mistakes, but
얘기하면 될 것 같아요.
well, I want to tell him that just be confident in the interview.
그렇습니다. 러쉬는 그 자체 중요한 거 아니겠어요? 사실 그 1경기 끝나고 나서 특히 2경기는 북미 팬들의 그 전반적인 그 압박 때문에 선택된 것이 아닌가라는 생각이 들었던 리신이 등장을 했어요.
Rush, you picked Lee Sin on your side of the jungle. Is that because of the wishes of the LCS fans?
1티어 정글들이 다 밴됐고
Well, actually,
2티어 정글들로
A-tier junglers were all banned out.
리신을 쓸 수 있는 각이 보였는데
So I see that it was capable for me to play Lee Sin.
겁먹어서 못 고를 것 같아가지고
And I thought it could be my last chance to play Lee on competitive
이때 상황은
games.
어땠어요?
일단 리신을 연습 때 한 판도 쓰질 않았었거든요.
Well, he never
근데
used
이제
Lee
너무
Sin
자신감이
in the
쌓이는
scrims,
이제 얘기들을 해줘서
but he seemed so confident, so we just wanted to
인터뷰의 교본.
play on Lee for one
1세트
chance.
끝났어. 1세트 참 세주 안에 골랐을 때도 지금 옆에서 이제 스맵 선수가 막 어깨를 들이면서 우리 줬어 뭐 이런 느낌 좀 있었거든요.
And after the first game, it seems like you and Rush had good teamwork.
윤정이랑 제가 솔로 랭크 듀오를 많이 했거든요. 근데 이제
we played a lot of duo during the solo queues, and the composition of my Camille and his Sejuani is like 100% win rate. So we were so confident. And Rush, how old are you? I'm 26 in Korean age. Well, there are so many fans hyped about you, Rush. And so, are you satisfied with your plays today? Well, I felt a little bit small in the first game, but I found my confidence back in the second game, so I think I did well. But my mistakes were that well, the opponents were so professional and so skillful, so I just made mistakes by myself, so I think I have to repair on those things. Well, Rush seems a little bit nervous, but there are a lot of friends from your school supporting for you. Well, I really don't check out the community sites, so I'm not really aware of that, but I would like to thank for all the support. And today, KT Rolster finally showed the cleanest game of the spring split. And this was what all the fans were waiting for, right? So, is there anything you want to say to your fans or your upcoming opponents? So it will be the beginning of the playoffs. So I hope other teams get scared of our performance from our matches today. And Yukal, is there anything you want to say to your fans? Well, actually, I have never ever beaten BDD in competitive games, so I really want to face him in the playoffs. And Rush, well, I didn't play up to my full potential, so I want to make more improvements and become a better player in jungler. So KT Rolster finishes the split in a very satisfying result. And this will be the end of the last interview of the last match of the regular season. I will throw back to our testers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ji-sun, for the translation. Thank you, Rush, for your first MVP interview here. He wasn't the MVP, but he's the MVP in our hearts. He made it. He was a little bit nervous, but he's a very kind boy, so you got to give it to him.
Thanks to Daddy Yukal also for just, man, his Swain is something else, so he deserves the praise as Yukal had quite the match here, but Rush also was clean on the Lee Sin and KT Rolster as a team. They were so clean they were dirty, Valdez. It was a perfect game from the side of KT Rolster, and Afreeca may have looked all at sea in this game that, you know, preparation for this game was of interesting value when it came to Afreeca, but let's reward the good play. Let's reward KT. They gave their fans something to be excited about, and that is always going to serve them well as we hit playoffs.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, Smeb said it best. He's like, I hope after this play, everybody gets really scared of us. And I'm sure that SKT, after having a little bit of trouble against Kongnu Monster, they got to really prepare to first take out KSV, see if they could do that. And then one of those teams has to go up against this team that made the #2 team in LCK look pretty easy tonight.
And then we're going to have Afreeca with 2 more weeks of preparation, and Kingzone Dragon X, the best team in the world, watching on, judging their opponents. So much to look forward to. Fans were waiting for one beautiful insect play. There it is.
Oh, so good. Kiana Keen, ward jump.
Great synergy with his teammates as well. Again, only nice things to say about Rush and KT Rolster. A 2-0 victory, a clean victory, and where we go from here, only the postseason knows. And it's going to be a spicy one, Valdez.
Yep, it says at the top we showed you a new weapon. And certainly Rush is a weapon that KT Rolster can use in the future. Will he be used? I'm sure now that he's played, Twitch chat is going to be even more off the chain the next time KT plays.
Hey, if I've been one thing, it's an intrepid reporter always letting you guys know about whether Rush will be playing or not. I get a bit of extra pay for it, I'm going to be honest.
You've been doing your best. Sometimes, you know, not really wanting to get out of the seats to see who's in there.
I'm trying, Valdez. It's hard.
Sometimes letting the fans just find out for themselves, and certainly we did that today, as Rush was the big surprise coming in here. Wow, what a way to end LCK. You know, the 90th match coming in.
Did you see any of this 89 matches ago?
No.
On the last day of the season, SKT just about qualified for playoffs, beating Hongdu Monster, and then Rush made his triumphant entrance to perfect game of Afreeca Freecs, who were in second, by the way. What a season. This is the end of the standings.
Yeah.
Kingzone are pretty damn good. Hongdu Monster, sadly, the reverse Kingzone. They would join MVP in the playoffs, the relegation playoffs that are played after the true playoffs. Kingzone, Afreeca, KT Rolster, SK Telecom T1, and KSV are your gauntlet teams.
So there you go. We are going to have, of course, the schedule shown once again for when these playoff matches will be. It's super hype. I feel like this year, 2018, certainly all of these teams have showed something in one way or another. It's really cool also to see the mix-up as well. Other teams getting up towards the top. I'm sure there were some people that were asking for new teams to step up to the plate, and we have had that here in 2018.
It's the schedule of this week, a great week of League of Legends. We entered it not knowing who would make playoffs. The amount of twists and turns that went from there, as everyone kind of had playoffs fall through their hands, Crown crying on the broadcast, you know, after the loss, and yet being rewarded by Jinair in the end. OGN will open the wild card 6 days from today. SKT vs KSV. That's a best of 3, guys. From there, the best of 5 start. Winner plays KT, winner plays Afreeca, and then over in Busan at the Sajik Arena, you're joining us in Korea, 5 p.m. on the 14th. It will be Kingzone Dragon X versus whoever can get through one of the hardest gauntlets to ever be run.
You were talking about fanfic. Maybe that'll just be KT Rolster with Rush starting game number 1 up against Peanut. A man can dream, but after today, it seems a lot less like a dream, Papa.
I mean, the OGN match days might be the World Finals rematch into the Telecom War best of 5. Already your mind is blown. Afreeca Freecs, we know how good they can be. They'll be waiting to understand who comes through there. And then Kingzone have the 3 weeks of their feet up to try to watch on as all these guys do battle in what feels like a Hunger Games to get to the final line in Busan.
So there you have it, guys. Make sure you got down those playoff days on your calendar, and you don't want to miss any of those. Every single match that we have is going to be hype as hell.
And we did it, Valdez. We survived through 90 best of 3s. Great to have one season with you here. It's been a lot of fun. Joining Spo TV, who, man, they have grown leaps and bounds with these interviews. Some of the hijinks, fantastic.
They certainly have, and they've grown even more with Papa joining the broadcast. Thanks to
Pleasure.
have you over here. It's been fantastic to be a team with you, and we've done it for the regular season. It's been fantastic. Of course, we will be doing the semifinals and finals eventually, but every day is going to be really awesome.
And thanks to the live broadcast team here. Everyone has been very welcoming and tried to make the English broadcast the best it can be. Over at OGN and at Spo TV, 90 best of 3s done. We still have more. There'll be a promotion tournament afterwards. MSI comes and gone. We see which Korean team wins that, and then we're back for LCK Summer.
Yeah, certainly going to be fun to see if guys like, or teams like Griffin, Damwon, if they can make it up over, you know, Hongdu Monster, the other guys down there at the bottom. But
that's the music.
The music has started, and the stream will end for the regular season. But we'll see you in the playoffs. Thanks once again for watching. We love you. Good night.
네, 정규 시즌의 마지막 경기 KT 롤스터와 아프리카 프릭스의 경기는 KT 롤스터의 승리로 끝이 났습니다. 오늘의 패배를 발판 삼아 포스트 시즌에선 이 아프리카 프릭스가 어떤 더욱더 강력한 무기를 준비해올지 계속해서 기대하셔도 좋을 것 같습니다. 2018 LCK 스프링 스플릿 정규 시즌의 모든 경기가 끝이 났습니다. 이어지는 포스트 시즌 더욱더 치열해질 승부에도 많은 관심과 응원 부탁드리겠습니다. 저는 여기서 이만 인사드리겠습니다. 함께해 주신 여러분 고맙습니다.